Right.
Of eyes need specialized lenses. Copious free money.
Right.
Listen, could you bring me a couple puppy treats? Shut up.
Says we're live. Yes.
Kind of killing sinister vibe here.
Pook says this is definitely a talk show unlike any other. 100%. Can everyone hear? Can everyone feel? We just lost sound, I hear.
Oh no.
Okay, back, Apook says. Okay.
Thanks.
I'm only sad that Crystal and Steve can't hear this jaunty music in the background. This holiday festive song that's playing. Nor can you see that I am currently wearing one of them Cookie Boy costumes. What are they? Not Cookie Boy. That's not a thing. You know the. Yes, a gingerbread man. I'm wearing a gingerbread man outfit. I'm also. Apook says nice shades. Crystal's gone Hollywood on us. Hey, you know, it's Mutants and Masterminds Monday, and it's the last show. It's our last program of 2020. We're tying it up. We're done. We're out.
Yep.
We are going on vacation. With me, I have Crystal Frasier. Hi, Crystal.
I mean, technically, I'm Crystal's mirror universe counterpart.
Oh, that's true. That's right. So we also have Steve Kenson, I think. See that right? Yeah, that's the way Steve would operate as a villain. You wouldn't know. Kind of sneak in there. We have a little music a little loud while Crystal and Steve have low volume. I thought I turned that music off, but do let me know if we don't get that sorted. Crystal needs the evil twin mustache.
I tried growing out a mustache for this episode, and I ironically cannot do it.
BB 2020 says Rainabauer. Hey everyone, hello Jonesy, Apook, Nicholas, you've made it right on time, and for the you know what? Better last than never is what I like to say. That's why I revel in my last place standing in pretty much everything. Sean Vieira's here. Scott Alfred's here. Everybody's here. You're all hanging out for the final episode of Mutants and Masterminds Monday 2020, and we'll be back, 2021. And I gotta tell you, I'm looking forward to putting this year,
to bed. Yes.
to bed. Yeah, absolutely. I want to say hello to our friends on YouTube. You are watching as well. We are looking forward to interacting with you, whomever you may be. Let us know. Drop a little note in the chit chat and tell us all about you. While you think of what you want to share with us, Crystal, why don't you share what we're doing today? What is this program about?
Today's episode, we're talking about how you run a villain campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So, Crystal wasn't qualified for this, so she had me come in with all of my villainous experience.
Ooh, I forgot to ask what your name was.
Light Cirque. There we go.
Life syrup?
No. Common misconception.
Yeah.
Lat Cirque.
Lat Cirque. Oh, yes, Lat Cirque.
LATSYRC.
I see. Lat Cirque. And then, are you Steve? Are we referring to you as Steve, or are you Yvette's?
Let's just use the conventional Steve.
Okay. All right.
Different mirror universe.
I see. Well, yeah. So we're talking about running a campaign of villainy.
Yes.
I gotta be honest. It makes me a little nervous.
It should.
Yeah.
Because I feel the dark side within me.
Well, we've all got a lot of anger and a lot of an appetite for destruction. We all like to wet.
Agreed. Absolutely
Sometimes
agreed.
You just want to hold a major metropolitan area hostage, but you don't have the time or the money to do it in real life.
That's right. Or friends to help you out, because this is about a whole campaign, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, you might want to topple a government, but, who has time for that?
Yeah.
It's a commitment.
It is.
Well, and I think, too, what's difficult with what's gone on in 2020 is that the government's worked so hard to topple itself.
Taking the fun out of it.
Really taking the fun out of it. When all the cartoon villains actually are in office, it's challenging. So, Lat Cirque. Can I call you Lat?
Sure.
Lat. A pleasure, truly.
But I may require a favor of you later.
Oh, see, I knew this. I knew it. I was going to wait to ask for that one thing that I needed, and I didn't think about it. And let's see. Josie says, "With great power comes, give me that." Apuk suggests that it's Steven versus Steven, but one of them is PH and the other is V. That is diabolical. Nicholas says, "My players say I'm cheating when their citywide rampage is met with the National Guard after they defeat the local hero." Yeah, sure. Well, so how do you, as a villainess, how do you prepare for a campaign of villainy? What's the scope?
Well, I think most people have all tried to run villain games and evil games at some point and run into the same common problems of people have different definitions of evil, and the player characters plot against each other more than they plot against your campaign or your heroes. Those tend to be the two big barriers everyone runs into, because there's not a lot of trust among villains.
It's true.
That's true.
Which is why you implant everybody with explosives.
Oh, see, that keeps everybody in line. Now, that is an interesting tack. Now, Steve, when you are imagining coordinating, have you done a lot of? I'm trying to figure you out. Have you done a lot of villainy? Have you done a lot of campaigns where people have been kind of playing on the dark side?
Oh, fictional villainy. Well, it has been known.
All right, all right. So, what are the kinds of ground rules that you, outside of sort of making sure everybody's, kept in line with a wired with explosives? Now, could that also be sort of a metaphor for making sure that things don't get too explosive by way of the kinds of behaviors that you engage in within the game world or
At the
amongst
game
themselves?
table, you
Yeah.
want to ensure that no one's head explodes as well, but metaphorically as well as literally.
I still say, as the game master, your best bet is to just implant everyone with explosives.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't work, or if you can't afford explosives, it helps to sit everybody down during that session 0 we talked about and make sure everybody's got the same understanding of the tone you're going for in your villainy campaign, because there's a large swath of what villainy means. Is it, wahaha, sort of Republic serial villain, like rubbing your hands together and making nefarious plots, but really not being much of a menace to the public? Or are you the kind of person who will, get into violent scrapes with the cops and maybe even kill the cops? Or are you a psycho killer who kills for fun? Like, what is the tone of evil you're setting?
Indeed.
Now, in this case, is it a situation of birds of a feather flock together, and you want to sort of be like, well, if you don't want to bring a clown nose to a knife fight.
Well, you want to ensure that if there are clashes of expectation or there are characters who are played against type, that it's done deliberately and not accidentally.
Aha.
It's fine if somebody wants to play the character who is not that evil amidst the much more evil characters, as long as they know what they're getting themselves into. Likewise, if there's going to be the one character in the group who is the psycho killer that everybody is worried about, as long as everybody knows that that's what they can expect, that's one thing. It's when that gets sprung on everybody that you start to have a problem.
Yeah, and it's another one of those situations where you definitely want to find out your players' yeses and nos versus their characters, because
right.
I mean, people survive a lot of things. I, for one, can't play in games with kryptonite anymore.
I see. Interesting.
Unless you can implant your players with telepathic parasites, you're going to have a conversation about where their various lines are.
Yeah, you need to know like what kinds of crimes you can commit in the game world that are, all in good fun versus what's a serious crime. Like, are you all playing mutants who have been downtrodden by the public and are taking revenge? And so, like, property damage and violence against authority figures are copacetic? Or are you already a minority in the real world and you don't want to deal with those same stresses in your game life? And you don't want to, focus on dealing with your real world inequities at the game table, and you just want to rob banks.
Right. Are your characters villainous thieves and con artists who are looking to pull off a big heist?
Oh, yeah.
But who are trying to ensure that it's as bloodless as possible? Or are they, criminal mercenaries who have no compunction about wiping out their opponents in, ultra-violent fashion, but may, who knows, have some compunctions when it comes to civilians.
Yeah, and this kind of comes around to, like, it's very important to figure out your goal for the campaign early on. Like, again, are you fighting against an unjust system and trying to make statements? Are you trying to get rich? Have you been brought together by a more powerful villain who's forcing you all to work together towards some plot, like killing that nefarious Batman? Where does he get those wonderful toys?
I'm a little disturbed. I might have woke up on the wrong side of the universe. I might be in the Mirrorverse, because even Apuk says, "Why do those things have to be mutually exclusive? Parasites and explosives mix just fine."
Oh, yes, they're actually a wonderful combination.
Somebody's been to Alpha Ceti 4.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And I'm looking here. I want to say hello to one of my favorite posters in the world of Facebook. Gab, I'm presuming you and I are probably the only non-villain types here. Uh, but I want to welcome you to the stream. And Gab asks an important question, and I believe that Gab is an emissary of a big fan and is gathering information to share with that individual who may or may not be a villain. I mean, it's okay. But Gab asks, what are the plans for Astonishing Adventures in Danger Zones in 2021? Do we want to save that towards the end? It's a topic of great import, certainly to Gab, and and also I'm presuming Gab's son. And so we can share it now, or we can wait. You two, let me know.
Probably something to share towards the end. More?
Perfect. Okay,
That'll
excellent.
derail us.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicholas Morrow says, I have a master supervillain who promises power to my PL3 players depending on how much money they're able to successfully plunder. Hey, I like it.
That's a good variation on the, sort of villainous patron approach, to a series.
I like that. Nicholas brings up something. I'm gonna rephrase it in a way that Nicholas has to remind evil player characters rather, no non-consensual activities, no mutilations, and no cannibalism. That's the big three right there.
It tends to be. Those definitely tend to be things you want to clear in your session 0.
That's and who wants to? I suppose if you're go ahead.
I mean, same with things like sexualized violence, violence against children, violence against animals.
Yeah.
All of the major things that can set people off.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that is, we did our own session 0, which I truly loved, as did our community. And when we did that, maybe not the two of you, but people who look familiar, an awful lot like you. And it was really, it struck me just how much of the tone we were setting and how much of the rules and the guidelines we were putting into place. And it made things easier to maneuver. And again, on that particular episode, it was there was a pattern, a quickness, and a sort of exchange that was really quick. But that doesn't always come about. You gotta really work at that, unless you've been gaming forever. And even then, let's take the time to do that, because you just don't know.
Well, in your previous session 0 was also very agreeable in terms of quickly deciding a number of things, whereas dealing with some of these more, shall we say, delicate issues can require a bit more conversation so that everyone is aware of exactly where they want to draw particular lines.
And at the end of the day, villains do come to the table with their own baggage, clearly, and so that is just a thing that you wanna unpack that and really make sure everyone understands. Oh, Pook says you could do the Reservoir Dogs plot. The villains are just doing a heist, and one goes crazy and starts killing everyone, including them. There you go. Sure.
That comes with all the usual caveats about player versus player stuff. So make sure people know coming in that this is what's going on.
So have you had these, or are you aware of, or have you participated in extended villainy in this, that it would be played as much as Heroes would be played in the world of M&M?
Not quite that long, but I've played longer campaigns in other systems with, again, villainy growing over time, starting out as relative nobodies and gathering resources and establishing a hideout and attracting the attention of more and more powerful heroes. But when you get into something like that, it's really, really valuable to start talking early on about genre conventions and how they're going to apply or not apply to villains. In comics, inexplicably, villains are always defeated. And is that going to be something that happens a lot in your villain campaign? Is escaping, but without your whatever your villainous goal is that something that's going to be like a possibility? Can you just cut and run? If you get arrested, do you go to prison or the home for the criminally insane? And then what does it take to break out? Because that can be an adventure all on its own. But these are all things you want to know, or you want your players to know going in, because we're just so accustomed to being beaten in an RPG, meaning the game is over.
I see. You seemed a bit dubious when you brought that up, inexplicably and, unaccustomed to. You think that the game is rigged?
Oh, the game is clearly rigged against the villains.
Without a doubt.
I see. Jonesy says, love the Flash Rogues. Is that a villainous group?
That is a villainous group.
And are they...
Very stylish.
Very stylish, okay. I was wondering, do they just appear out of nowhere, roguish?
Well, most of the rogues are thieves of one sort.
Yeah, they're like a thieves union.
Gotcha.
By healthcare, I believe. Argue for better working conditions.
I know those rogues quite well then. Robert Mann says, I enjoy playing more of a Paste Pot Pete or the Trapster type of villain.
The classic jobber villain.
Yeah. Nicholas, I love this. It's all fun and names till the evil PCs face the GM's version of Marvel's Punisher. I like it. Jonesy says, I like games where villains are forced into doing good, such as the Suicide Squad, which was a touchstone. We did sort of bring that up in the in our pre-planned game plan.
We've got that detailed in the Super Team Handbook, Project Freedom. They're a team of villains being used to do deniable superheroism.
Pretty much. And
so there's the extended campaign that, to me, I can kind of see that playing out in a way where, it's friends, that get together. Maybe they want to break up their regular game with this every once in a while. And then I can see sort of a special occasion, like the holidays. No better time to bust out your villainy and find some channel for whether it's frustration for not being able to spend time with your family or frustrated, because of the time spent with your family. And so how would you suggest people go about getting... I would also see that would seem like a nice way to onboard people, or people could play for the first time, or they've heard about this tabletop roleplay thing. Is this a good way to bring people on board to Mutants and Mastermind?
I mean, it certainly can be, especially for low stakes villainy, your classic jobber villains.
Yep.
I mean,
I tend to see it more as a sort of change of pace kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you want to introduce someone to Mutants and Masterminds, then chances are you want to go with the more expected heroic approach, so that they know that that's sort of the default of the game. But if folks have played a lot of superheroes and want something different for a game or two, playing the other side can be interesting.
So Raina says, I like the idea of running short villain one-shots to set up the tension for the main heroic campaign. That's a clever idea. I wonder, do you have a sort of a recommended menu of, these, this might be what you would consider when you're running these, or should they come from a sort of all-up created, out of your mind as you...
Well, I've actually done something like that with a game that one of the issues with superhero games is that we've talked previously about the fact that villains are often sort of the prime motivating factor. The heroes are, to a certain degree, sitting around waiting for the villains to do something. So it can be interesting to do in terms of doing a short one-shot scenario, and I've done this in superhero campaigns where you start the plot off by saying, okay, for this game session, you are all going to play the villains. Here is the thing they need to obtain from your hero's headquarters in order to succeed their plot. How do you go about getting it? I'm going to run your heroes and they're going to try and stop you. And then after that adventure plays out and hopefully the players have succeeded, you flip the narrative, give them their heroic characters back and say, okay, the villains have just escaped with the thing. What do you do to stop them?
I like it. Jonesy says, I run Suicide Squad and Rogues events at Gen Con, and that has been a hit. Mm-hmm. That's good to know, and I would imagine that to be sort of a fun novelty kind of thing, for sure. I'm compelled myself. Let's see here. Robert Mann says, what about something like the Thunderbolts, villains pretending to be heroes? Mm-hmm. And then Apuk says, deniable superheroism. Superheroism is my new favorite term. It's good stuff. Xavier says, like Reservoir Dogs, any other suggestions for viewing and or reading over the holidays for inspiration? Sure. Where do you draw your, when we look at pop culture and popular media, where are you drawing your villainy, your villainistic inspiration?
Well, the Harley Quinn series is definitely up there. That's some top-notch, like, what do villains do behind the scenes programming? Very true to life.
Absolutely.
We've all dated Kite Man. I don't know why.
Right.
Steve, do you have any recommended? Mutation. Oh, sorry, say that again.
Secondary mutation.
Yes. Don't I know it? Steve, how about you? Like, what are your favorite kinds of villainy, media?
Mm-hmm. It depends a little on the particular genre of villainy you're going for. If you're looking for more of sort of the heist, villains, that heist movies are great. As far as that goes, anything that involves those kind of stories. The Leverage series, for example, would be a great model for a group of supervillains who are essentially using their ability to take down other villains, whether they're doing it for their own purposes or because the law or circumstances are forcing them into it. Would be a good example scenario. And just the comic books themselves provide a lot of, we use Suicide Squad and Thunderbolts as two prime examples. Those comic series are full of ideas in terms of integrating villains into a team and having them embark on various missions.
So one of the things that we're working on behind the scenes for 2021, early 2021, is the idea of creating opportunities for there to be a guest NPC villain or important character, as part of the magic and the fun. Have you ever heard of or seen or participated or coordinated a villain's guest sort of drop in surprise kind of wahaha, it's me, Yort?
Are you asking, have we had like new players or guest players drop in and take over the villain?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that is practical or if that's a thing that, I just haven't heard a lot of that happening, and I just am uncertain, not really being totally clear on the artistry behind, being a GM. I do wonder sometimes, like, that could be, there's a lot of theater in that.
There is. I think it works better. I think it works better with a sympathetic villain who is teaming up with the heroes for one adventure. So you could have somebody take over somebody who's normally an NPC and join the hero's side for an adventure, like the times Venom has worked alongside Spider-Man. You could say was, a guest showing up to play Mutants and Masterminds with Pete and the crew, and just taking over a morally ambiguous villain who can, arguably work with them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that gamers, as a rule, tend to be kind of competitive, and putting one player, especially somebody who's a newcomer to the group, in an adversarial role with the rest of the group, can get pretty messy.
Very easily manipulated.
Very true. I can see that that is a skill. You are statted high. Luis Carlos Jr. says, I like the Frostbite and Ice Queen from Row Gallery MM3. And I want to say hello to you, my friend. You are watching us on the YouTubes. And it's always nice to see someone pop in and say hello. We've got quite a few people checking out the stream right now, and that's exciting. I also want to say Apuk shares another fun concept is a situation that forces the heroes to perform villainy for some reason. That's a classic. Whether it be to retrieve the only thing that will save that loved one, sure. Or bad guys have infiltrated the government and only they know it, etc. Yep. Or someone's criminal father gaslights them into breaking an innocent kid out of prison along with some incarcerated supervillains.
There's always also the fun scenario of getting to play the evil version of your hero character for an adventure.
Well, how do you?
It's because they're exposed to some alien substance that flips their personality, or they're really their.
We said we wouldn't talk about red kryptonite.
That's true. I'm sorry.
That's true. Yeah, we did. That was one of the. It's in the writer. That and only gray M&Ms, which is weird. I didn't even know they made those. Let's see.
They don't in this
I can't
universe?
believe they don't make them here.
Yeah, no, I had to. I basically had to paint them all. So
That's
enjoy.
What that flavor was.
Yes, yeah. Sorry. I thought that was sort of a joke, but no, it wasn't. Yeah. So it might taste like a craft project. Raina says, I like the idea of luring the heroes to do something villainous, sometimes making them work alongside the villains. Yeah, absolutely. Well, so there's a lot. What I like about flipping the script on some of this stuff is that it really does bring out a certain flavor of cunning and sort of tricky duplicitousness, and how much can a game master get away with surprise and to a twist and that kind of stuff? Is this the time to kind of pull out all the stops when coordinating a campaign of villainy? Or
you can get away with a lot. One of my favorite things is having heroes break a lot of laws, and nobody seems to care when they do it. So holding them accountable and having them suddenly be hunted, that's a great way to test whether or not they're really heroes. Suddenly they have to go underground, they have to steal whatever resources they need. It's a good way to show the whole world what a laughable joke their heroic motivations are. It's easy to be a saint in heaven.
That's true. And who's holding the heroes accountable for all the crap that they break? Like, they just bust up.
The judges I've mind controlled, of course.
Yes, I too agree, as the judges would. Robert Mann says, what about an outsider like Namor, who is teamed up with Doom, but is also best friends with Captain America?
Sure. There are a lot of characters who are sort of morally ambiguous and kind of walk the line between, are they heroes, are they villains, sometimes both.
They've got their own agendas.
True. Where does Bucky fall into all that?
We lost a good one there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. True.
Nice reusable asset, and then met his old boyfriend, and it just went
right. It just got awkward.
It just got real uncomfortable. It did, didn't it? Let's see. Raina says, I think that there's a little friction going on between Raina Bower and Apuk. Both their real Christian given legal names. Says Apuk, are you referring to our most recent Gang Wars game? Laugh out loud. And Apuk says, who, me? So there's something going on there. Everybody's just turned into, I just don't even know where to look or talk. Everyone seems a little sneaky. Jonesy says Earth 3 all the way. And that also Jonesy would really like to run a Shadow Academy game. Now, what's a Shadow Academy? Nicholas says Aegis.
So the Shadow Academy is a prestigious private school in Emerald City, which is also the cover for a secret organization that is training young superhumans to become criminals.
Doing good work.
Hmm.
Community really.
Education is really the most important thing.
It truly is.
It's about the next generation.
Access to education, one of the. Oh yeah,
Yes.
Rick
We're
says
just going to continue to flounder disorganized until we can get them young.
that is true.
Train them right.
Rick says Rick Bullard, which Rick, I'm not sure that we have met yet. Pleasure that you've joined us. I'm so glad to see you and meet you. But Rick says like the Hellions from the New Mutants,
for example.
I like
kids,
it.
Good kids.
So when running a campaign of villainy, how far removed are you from the more sort of like I would consider, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we're taking examples like the Morlocks, Marvel sort of subterranean gang of people who have come together because they are misfits and they're outcasts, but villains, are they really villains?
I mean,
well,
it depends on.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it really depends on who's doing the defining.
I see.
Yeah, I think that's where we have to start to get into the difference between villains and criminals.
We want to unpack that?
Well, there's a lot of people who don't get a fair shake in the world, and if you want to play that campaign, there's a lot of good fun to be had, and you'll be fighting a big arrangement of the same opponents. You'll still be going up against the police, you'll be going up against government officials, you'll be going up against patriotic superheroes and law and order types. But you might find unexpected allies in, superheroes who, have reasonable, well thought out moral codes.
Yeah, the X-Men have provided examples of that for many years.
Very true. I'm struck by the notion that it is a little bit about the eye of the beholder, right? Sometimes the grass isn't greener. It's
I've
more
got the eye of
venomous.
the beholder in back. It's it's going to change everything.
I imagine. Hopefully you've got that sort of eye of the beholder sort of trapped in a chest or a force field of some kind, or is it just sort of hanging out?
The containment unit is perfectly stable.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Now I know.
There will be no long-term side effects.
No.
Now I know why our visiting Latzerk is wearing sunglasses. Magneto was right, says Apook, and sometimes let's see. Oh, Rick says they did literally kidnap Angel. True. Villains. Gab says villains in other nations and heroes in their own. Yeah, that is absolutely true. Very, very true. And so, as we look at, I can't believe this. Villainy, I thought it was just, heroism and talking about, creating, tomorrow's heroes today we made quick work of that and we just chew through it. But I'm telling you, villainy is just as fast. Like we're getting down to the wire. We are almost, I think about 15 minutes or so, give or take. So I wanted to, we've got a lot of people out there in the Mutants, the greater Mutants and Masterminds community. And for a game that, Steve, how old is Mutants and Masterminds altogether?
Mutants and Masterminds is, heading for 20 years old. 18 years old now?
Launched in 2002.
2002. So, yeah.
That is
just after Crystal moved to the Seattle region.
There you go.
I see.
I see. To vote this year, ironically.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I love to go out into the internet and to seek and find people who are, they're just. This is such an evocative setting, and it's such an onboarding to the popular culture of comics and all of the enjoyable and sort of the agreed upon. We're going to participate in this kind of fun together, and it is universal in that it is so visual and it is so it really taps into sort of, I think, that a unifying element of emotional understanding, no matter where you come from. And comics are really about that as well. I was hanging out on Instagram, and I came across something that I was pretty darn excited about. So there is a group of people. I will get queuing up a screen share here, but they are playing in a their friends are playing together. They're playing an adventure called Emerald City Nights, and this particular Blakebeard .gaming on Instagram is put words to Munson.art's artwork, and it is incredible. I'm gonna get that over here real quick, but I want to make sure that I have some important stuff, which would be, your voices. I don't want to. I would just rather not deal with any of that sort of blowback. And so here we go, folks. When I switch over here, do me a favor and let me know if you end up not seeing or hearing us. But can you hear us still?
It's possible Troy might destroy this whole stream with the push of a button, so we're taking our chances.
Well, you'll note how smooth this stream has gone from the outset, so maybe Troy's not here.
I gotta say, in my dimension, Yort really has everything together. Is it normal for Troy to have problems with the stream?
Yeah. One only has to look back upon the archive of videos.
But Yort the Disembodied is quite skilled with those sorts of things.
Right, yeah. And doesn't have to get so cutesy with all the disembodied stuff, by the way. But take a look at this. Triptych Sentinels. It is so great. It is drawn by our friend Munson Art, and panels are the writing by Blakebeard.gaming, and this is very, very impressive. I think that the idea that a tabletop roleplay game inspires this kind of creativity and contribution to the world is it's pretty much exactly what it ought to be, right? Hey! Nice. Willis Blake says, hey, that's my post up right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, Willis, thank you so much for sharing and allowing us to share this work. It's really fantastic. And if I'm telling the story a little out of order, do correct me, because, I'm kind of new to these parts. Or am I? But look at that. It's just fantastic. And but yeah, we truly were impressed when we saw this. Really, really enjoyed the work that went into it, and just to kind of see what your gaming sessions, how you have been inspired by playing Mutants and Masterminds to then draw Mutants and Masterminds, and it just, I think, is a real testament to the genre and how M&M has really managed to keep that sort of stuff stoked and ready to go. So when you're done playing, you're never really done. You're kind of ready for the next adventure.
One of my favorite things about RPGs in general is how much they inspire people's imaginations. It's always fantastic to see just what people take from the existing game settings and stories and adventures, and what they spin out from them. It never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, I mean, The Expanse is a D20 modern game that just kind of got out of hand, so it's interesting to think what could grow out of Mutants and Masterminds.
Yeah,
100%. Willis, I want to thank you, also Munson Art as well, but we're going to put together a little Mutants and Masterminds package for you of something fun to play, and I'm not sure if Lats or Steve have a recommendation. What could a group, maybe if they're doing, Emerald City Nights, what do you think is a fun sort of adjunct sort of addition, or something to cleanse the palate afterwards? Or
we should consult, but I think that we've got one or two of our astonishing adventurers who have some connections with the material in Emerald City Nights, so we might be able to follow up with that.
Fantastic. All right, Willis, will you hang tight? Do me a favor, DM me some information. We'll get you something fun. We'll put something together that will be a nice complement to your creativity entree, if you will. Okay, so there are a couple questions about next year floating around out there.
Yes,
How?
2020 New Game Plus.
Yes.
Yes, yes. What would we like to share? I mean, I know that things may be just a tad different given your origin stories, but heck, why not leave a bit of a mess for those other suckers to clean up?
Well, we're going to continue the Safety Zones PDF series.
I think they call them danger zones here.
Ah, of course.
Oh, yeah. No, that's true. That's exactly right. I do believe that Gab was asking about that, and Gab asked about that, and then there's another thing that they do. What is it?
Completely Believable Adventures?
Yeah. I thought it was Astonishing Capers, but
yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, we've got both, so.
I don't know.
That
It's
playable
very
adventure
difficult
content.
to read Crystal's handwriting. It goes from left to right. That's
I know,
weird.
that's one of the most difficult things.
What?
I do believe that adventure content is also continuing.
Nice. Okay, good. Well, you've heard it from us, a commitment to that. And
if it's anything like the Mirror Universe, we're putting together a vigilante adventure arc with several interconnected adventures that will release ideally at the same time as the Vigilante's Handbook, which is still in development and finally making some progress on that. Most of Danger Zones is off to edit and is back from edit at this point, actually.
Indeed.
So
nice.
that needs to finish going through layout, and then the very next thing is putting together a big, juicy art order for the Vigilante's Handbook, which will hopefully release next year.
And also for the coming year, everyone can look forward to more regular Mutants and Masterminds content from the M&M Patreon as well.
Yes.
True that. And Pook asks a question that I think I might have the answer to. Correct me if I'm wrong, but...
Oh, we will.
Yes, you will. Any chance we might get a digital version of the condition cards? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe we're working on that right now.
Very good chance.
So super, super good chance on that. And the Pook says the Vigilante's Handbook. Did Pook travel over here with in the car that in the bus that we were in, or it feels a lot like I don't know, fitting in is all I'm saying. And yeah, Sean says Safety Zone could be a fun series, so that's a fun little thing to plant over here for them to clean up later. I'm always looking for new published adventures, says Raina.
There's Sheep Ranch and Mattress Store. Zen Center.
Yes, Cat Cafe. Yeah. Pillow Factory.
Capybara Exhibit.
Capybara Exhibit. Yeah.
Overalls Factory. I like it. Casey says Patreon, yeah. Absolutely. I am really stoked about the Patreon. I think that it will. It's gonna be a blast.
Yes. Now that I can write checks that Crystal has to cash, I can say, oh, what can we promise? If it gets big enough, we'll translate old second edition books. If it's popular, then you can ask Crystal all your development questions. Ah, yes.
I like
See
that.
you get out of that.
That is nice.
If it brings in enough money, you can make Crystal wear cat ears on her streams.
Oh, I like it. And I do feel like I'm looking at some of these. I don't know. Well, they might as well just be hieroglyphics here. This horrible handwriting says something about $10,000 in a singing gig or something. I don't know. Some kind of a karaoke I think is how you say it. We don't have
Oh,
that.
that will be terrible. She hates karaoke.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, absolutely. Nicholas says, give us the Patreon. Yes, indeed. You will have Patreon, more Patreon than you can Patreon. That doesn't work. Yeah.
Patronize.
Patronize. Thank you.
Yes.
Robert Mann says,
No, I'm saying don't patronize.
don't patronize. Yes, true. Very true. Do you post, Robert Mann says, do you post job listings for potential openings? How does one join the Green Ronin family? Well, interesting. That's a good question. I will.
I was kidnapped and a small explosive was implanted in me.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it
Kind
depends.
of a recurring theme.
It kind of depends on what side of the mirror universe you're kind of operating on. But if let's say you aren't conscripted by dint of the plastic explosives that you've got attached to the base of your skull, there are there are ways to kind of connect and be a part of the family, contribute in content that you can kind of there are a lot of different content creative programs like I'm trying to think of the names of some of them and I'm blanking.
Well, there are licensing programs like Superpowered by M&M that allow you to create your own Mutants and Masterminds compatible products. But in terms of jobs working for Green Ronin, when Green Ronin is hiring, which is usually outside of a pandemic and major contraction of the economy, then usually Green Ronin openly advertises available positions. More often, Green Ronin, like most game companies of its size, requires the work of skilled freelancers who can write and draw and produce art and edit and do the various other tasks that we outsource for a lot of our products.
Yeah, that is well said, and I think too one of the things that's important to note is that you really kind of are birthed into the family. That kind of those roles are so it's
that ritual we don't talk about openly.
Oh gosh, sorry. Yes, right. Let's see.
That's what the eye of the beholder's for.
Right. Yeah, all part of the the extended experience of being birthed. And so, yeah, I guess what we're saying is, get ready. Who knows? Raina says, poof, there goes more of my money. And Rainbow Sky, gay and proud. Good to see you again, my friend. Thank you for stopping by and hanging out on the YouTube's part of our exposition here. Rainbow Sky says, can we get a gay hero book written by Steve and Wes and Jeremy and Joseph?
Well, that's an interesting thought.
I already have one. It's called Sacred Band.
Right. That's true. I was going to say, if we do more of Joe's World of Sacred Band material, then there's a great opportunity there. But if you haven't, please do check out Joe's Sacred Band novels.
It's so good.
Fiction. Some terrific queer superheroes in action.
And just done with... Joe is just so very Joe, and just talented in so many ways. But as a gay person who enjoys the superhero genre, to read that, it struck me. I'm in the midst of that. I'm kind of doing a sort of absorbing as much of the Green Ronin canon as possible. There is a metric ton of things there, and but to see people represented in fiction in a genre I love, and in a way that I'm like, who's reading my diary? And I don't even have one. Was really rewarding, but it also it is. I would encourage you to check it out, no matter where you are on the spectrum of sexuality or identity or any of that stuff, because it is it's just really well done.
Well, it's a great superhero story as well.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. So, Rainbow Sky Game Proud, all I can say to you, my friend, is that I would call the book My Book Has Four Dads, and I'm not sure exactly when something like that could come about, but keep on bugging, keep on bugging Steve. He loves that. And thank you, Jonesy, for sharing the links to Sacred Band Second Edition and the Sacred Band character dossiers. Those are great. I love that content. So good. We are literally a moment away from the very final show of 2020. And while I have to say that I'm not going to miss 2020, I have enjoyed our Mutants and Masterminds Monday. They have really brought a texture and a fun to my Mondays and my week, and honestly, like one of those things where I can kind of set my watch, like, okay, yes, it's Monday. I know I have a thing that happens always, and hanging out with you two has been a pleasure, an honor. It has been so fun and so educational. I find myself so much more able to understand what all of the Mutants and Mastermind stuff means, and I can't imagine how our community must feel as well. They the opportunity for them to hang out, and we, the two of you and myself included, really enjoy our fans. Like, we enjoy the people who enjoy playing, and I want to find a different nomenclature at some point to say fans. It's sort of a shorthand, because the people who kind of hang out and watch and have been a part of watching the stream get better and change and sort of evolve. I had spent a little time. I might be putting together sort of a retrospective of Mutants and Masterminds Monday, and we've had one thread has never changed, and that is the fun and the banter and the connection. All of that has only grown stronger, and the quality. I mean, that's arguable. If that's grown, but it is. We've done a remarkable thing, 2020, and I thank you both. Like, I think, and I can see by the gratitude shared in the chat that M&M Monday has been a load of fun. I'm so glad we had this time together. M&M Monday is great. Jonesy sharing their love by saying, go to that end of year sale. Do that, absolutely. Go to the end of year. Yeah, absolutely. Nicholas Morrow.
One step away from theft.
That is true. You're stealing. I think it's about 20%. Yeah. And Robert Mann says, thanks for being so incredibly accessible. This is amazing. It's our honor, and one of the things that you should know as people who are feeling like you're on the outside looking in. What you see here is what you get. The conversations that we have in the copious amounts of planning that we do for these every Monday. It is all of it geared towards both giving our community what they need and what they want as far as information goes. But these two love this title. I mean, they play it, they enjoy it, they immerse themselves in it. That kind of joy that they can just sort of pop off with, sort of the things that you could do to kind of be, the flexibility of Mutants and Masterminds as a game, and how many different ways you can use it. I mean, the two of you really do enjoy this. You really do love playing and the worlds you create. That's something that's unusual.
I mean, I don't think anyone works in this industry if they don't love it.
Not for long.
I'll tell you, there are people, like in some industries. I look at the video games industry. There are people who create a product, but playing that is a little painful. But this, maybe just because tabletop facilitates more of a creative way to kind of do this stuff. But it's a joy to see, and it's a joy to participate in. And Jonesy says, M&M Mondays have been a great highlight of the year, so thanks for making this happen. And yeah, Nicholas says it's an incredibly rare opportunity to be able to communicate with the creators of your favorite tabletop roleplay game. And Poop says we love it too. Listen, friends, we're gonna sign off. These two and maybe three, we've got some things to do. We don't want to be late for a portal that needs to open up here shortly. It's gonna make a big mess over here, so that
Thank goodness for that planetary conjunction. Am I right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. All right, friends, have an incredible. Oh, Nicholas, you would do this. You would ask a question like this. I'm gonna say I'm gonna hold off on this, and I'm gonna leave it for the next group, wherein Nicholas says, "Will there ever be a Mutants and Masterminds video game?" Interesting. Sean Vieira, till next year, everybody have a safe and fun and as close to the people and your loved ones as possible. Jump on that Zoom call with friends or coordinate that game session, with people that you aren't able to see in person. We're almost there.
Tell your minions you appreciate their sacrifice.
Yeah. Jonesy says
It's the little
heroes.
touches.
Tell your hero's sidekick that you are the one who really appreciates and understands them.
Aw, see, yeah. I heard of some very wise words that said, let's endeavor this year to leave those around us feeling as though they are a beautiful blobfish under pressure and not a flappy sack of sadness just littering the shores. Be there for your.
Sounds like emotional claptrap.
It does indeed. It sounds, it seems to be a little stretched, but again,
much like a blobfish.
Much like a blobfish, indeed. And I'm going to end with this. Stephen Jonesy says, heroes and villains, wear your masks. All right, everybody.
Yes,
we will see you, well, someone will, next year. Bye, everyone.
I cannot see a dang thing.